So greetings. One of the most awesome responsibilities, but also privileges in my ministry is preaching. Never feel adequate for it. It's remarkable when you think about the number of people, not only in the room, but now with virtual worship, people literally in other continents that are participating in worship. And that my words somehow can be reflective of what God's message is for us today. So I take that very seriously and put a lot of work into preparation, memorizing, delivering, and all that goes into preaching. So I say all that because this coming Sunday, I'm going to start something I've never done before, and I hope you'll stick with me with it. I'm going to do an 11-week series. I've never done a series probably half that long, but I really feel led to do this. And what I'm going to be doing is going through the book of Jeremiah. The more I read Jeremiah, the more it seems like a word for our day and time. I identify a lot with Jeremiah. So many things about him I couldn't compare to Jeremiah at the same time. But Jeremiah, the book is the longest book in all the Bible. A lot of people don't realize that. But it's also, Jeremiah is such a human prophet. We know more about him. He's a preacher's kid. God bless him. But he's often called the weeping prophet as well. What we find again and again with Jeremiah, as we'll go through this series, is how he has a heart for his people. But he also sees what his people are up to. And he hurts over what is going on in his nation. Does any of that sound familiar to you? That we some days are weeping over what we feel like is happening in our world these days. And yet there's a word from God for that kind of thing. And the word of Jeremiah is just packed with so many critical, moving images. And I just, some of those you go through, he talks about broken cisterns that just can't hold water. And doesn't that sound like our lives and our souls some days? It's just a leaky bucket sometimes, trying to keep it all together. He talks about going to the potter's house and how we are like clay in the potter's hand. Such a powerful image. And what does that mean for us? And the clay, is our clay moist? Is it dry? Are we truly trusting to put ourselves in God's hands? He talks about sometimes it feels like there's no balm in Gilead. There's an old gospel song, balm in Gilead. Is there a balm in Gilead for the heartfelt soul? And sometimes we wonder, is there a cure? Is there something that we can look to feel positive about these days? And ultimately, Jeremiah comes around to saying that God is going to put a new covenant on our hearts. We'll probably, hopefully, do that when we share in the Lord's Supper. We are a people of the new covenant. This is an Old Testament book, but it's such a timely book for our day and time. Eugene Peterson, who translated the Message that many of you are familiar with, he wrote an entire book about Jeremiah. I found him to be so fascinating. And the title of the book is Run with the Horses. And he talks about that. There was a time when Jeremiah just wanted to throw in the towel and just give it all up. And at that critical moment, he heard from God. It said, and this is Jeremiah 12:5, it said, if you have raced with men on foot and they have wearied you, how will you compete with horses? And if in a safe land you fall down, how will you do in the jungle of the Jordan? The temptation for us is to just be average. Jeremiah refused to be average. He refused to give in to that, as tempting as it was, as he felt so much opposition at every turn. So the question was, what is it you really want, Jeremiah? Do you want to shuffle along with the crowd, or do you want to run with the horses? His response came not verbal, but graphical. In his life came the answer, I'll run with the horses. We're going to find in Jeremiah strength for these days. We're going to find some prophetic words that are not always going to be comfortable. But hopefully, in my preaching, what I always hope for, and for over 11 weeks, I can't wait to do this. I've been working on this more than ever. That Jeremiah becomes a word for us today. So I invite you to worship in person, virtual, be faithful, and stick with me, and let's see where God leads us in this series on Jeremiah. Thank you.